Jon has tiny calves.
Yeah.
They're tiny. They're like almost non-existent. It's the craziest thing. And he works out just power lifting, deadlifting, squats.
Yeah.
Calves are still tiny. He's got like literally the perfect frame for fighting because he only has muscle where he needs it. It's like he's designed in a lab. Like if you wanted to... Well, Jon's fight IQ is insane. Insane. The guy developed a spinning back kick at 36. Didn't have a spinning back kick his whole career. And all of a sudden knocks out Stipe with a spinning back kick for the heavyweight title. And did a lot of his career partying, which is even crazier. One of the things he said to Daniel Cormier, which is one of the coldest things anybody's ever said. He said, I beat you when I was on coke.
I beat you after a weekend of back-to-back weekends. Came one, your ass the next. It was great.
Aspinall seems to be trying to reach some sort of agreement, and the rumor is that he's asking for $30 million, which many believe the UFC is actually willing to pay.
I think they're trying to come to some sort of an agreement. The rumor is that he wants $30 million, and that the UFC's going to pay it.
The UFC commentator had plenty to say after witnessing the intense preparation the heavyweight champion is putting in for his fight against Tom Aspinall. Jones, known for his exceptional skills and physical prowess, has been working relentlessly to fine-tune his physique for the big bout. Rogan praised Jones's dedication to training and nutrition, emphasizing the noticeable transformation in his body composition.
Jon is what I would describe. There's human beings that have a different temperament and different minds and different mentality and a ruthless competitive drive that's almost terrifying to the ordinary person. That's Jon Jones. Jon Jones is a bad guy who's trying to be a good guy. Right. But that guy.
Rogan, Jones's transformation is a testament to his commitment to becoming the best version of himself for the fight. Jon Jones is a freak of nature, Rogan said. The guy's got the skills, the power, and the charisma. He's a true superstar in the UFC. But beyond all that, Rogan emphasized, it's Jones's discipline and dedication that truly stand out. His upcoming fight against Aspinall has generated major buzz, with fans and pundits eagerly anticipating the long-awaited
Jon
show.
is what I would describe. There's human beings that have a different temperament and different minds and different mentality and a ruthless competitive drive that's almost terrifying to the ordinary person. That's Jon Jones. Jon Jones is a bad guy who's trying to be a good guy. Right. But that guy,
known for his formidable skills and aggressive fighting style, will undoubtedly pose a serious challenge for Jones. However, Rogan believes that Jones's experience and physicality will give him a significant advantage in the fight.
But Aspinall, he's something special. He really is something special. He's a very unusual example. Because he's a heavyweight, and he's a big guy, a really big guy, but he moves so fast.
Tom Aspinall is a talented fighter, but he's in for the biggest test of his life. I'd love to see if he can take down Jon Jones, Rogan said. Jones's training camp has been marked by intense sessions, with the champion working tirelessly to perfect his techniques and strategy.
I think if you look at Jon Jones's early career, right? Jon Jones wins the title in 2011, and from then on has fought more fights as championship fights than he has other fights. So he's the most accomplished for sure. Beats Mauricio Shogun Rua, who's a legend. And then the way he dominates all these other fighters, up until you get to Alexander Gustafsson, you could make the argument that he had a similar career.
As the fight draws
near, fans are eagerly awaiting the chance to see Jon Jones back in action. With his remarkable body transformation and elite skills, Jones is poised to make a powerful statement against Aspinall and further solidify his status as the greatest UFC fighter of all time. Speaking about Jones's discipline, Joe Rogan emphasized that his strict training methods are a key reason why he considers Jones the smartest fighter in the UFC.
You could make the argument, like if you look at what he did, Jon didn't lose any rounds. Jon was smashing people. You look what he did to Rashad Evans. Look what he did to Rampage Jackson. Look what he did to Lyoto Machida. Look what he did to everybody. You look at the way he beat Daniel Cormier in the first fight. Took him down. Like, who the fuck takes Daniel Cormier down, right? And then you look at him in the second fight. Even though it was ruled a no contest, we know what the fuck happened. He head kicked him and stopped him. It was spectacular.
Joe Rogan insisted that Jon Jones's intelligence has been a crucial factor in his long-standing dominance at the top of the sport. The popular podcaster recently referenced UFC 151, to highlight just how sharp and calculated the two-weight UFC champion truly is. Back in September 2012, Jones was scheduled to defend his light heavyweight title against Dan Henderson, but when Henderson pulled out due to injury, the UFC attempted to arrange a last-minute replacement fight with Chael Sonnen. Jones refused to accept the bout on just 8 days' notice, leading to the UFC canceling an event for the first time in its history.
Like Jon Jones is the fucking boogeyman. When he fought Gustafsson, he had almost no training camp. They said he barely showed up. Jackson about it, and Greg Jackson was always like he didn't even train for that fight. He pulled that fight off in the 4th and 5th rounds. That's when he really turned it up. So you're talking about a guy who hasn't even been training, and then you saw the real Jon Jones in the second fight. That's motivated Jon Jones.
Jon Jones's decision still doesn't sit well with some fans even 13 years later. But Joe Rogan believes it's exactly that mindset, putting his nearly perfect record above money and public approval, that cements Jones as the GOAT. Jon Jones is the smartest, Rogan said on his podcast. They changed opponents. Damn, the fight's off. Even guys like Chael Sonnen, who he eventually stomped in the first round. It wasn't even remotely competitive. It was an annihilation, and it would have been an annihilation 365 days a year for decades.
Chael's like a little smaller, too. John's cutting to get to 205. Chael's fighting at 185. Like, sketchy. John's big, dude. Yeah. Big. Big and long and strong as fuck. That's too big. Remember when John and him fought? It was a maul.
I don't.
It was a horrific maul.
As great as Chael Sonnen is, Jon Jones was the bigger, stronger man. Sonnen had fought at 185 pounds, while Jones was a true 205-pounder, and arguably the most talented fighter the sport has ever seen, someone who's expected to win every time. But when the UFC changed the opponent and tried to slot in Sonnen on short notice, Jones said, "Nope, we do things the right way. I went through a full camp. That's it. The fight is off." Everyone was upset because they wanted him to just go along with it, but to this day, people still call him the GOAT. Why? Because he did everything the right way. If you try to call Jon Jones in for a late-notice fight on 5 days' notice, he'll tell you to go fight
John
yourself.
beat him up so bad that he broke his own toe, pushing off the ground, smashing.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at it. This is the broken foot. Oh, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. If that doesn't make you
If there's anyone who truly believes in the Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight, it's Joe Rogan. Even when it seemed like Jones was avoiding the matchup, Rogan kept talking about the fight as if it were inevitable. The popular UFC commentator and podcaster believes that Jones's championship mentality wouldn't allow him to sit back, wait for a different option, or retire. Bones has ruled the UFC's heaviest division since submitting Cyril Gane in 2023, marking his return to the sport after a 3-year injury-plagued hiatus. The promotion's youngest-ever champion later defended his title against Stipe Miocic at UFC 309 last November, and is now in negotiations to face Britain's Tom Aspinall. Holding the interim title in the same division, Aspinall has repeatedly stated that he only wants to fight for Jones's undisputed belt.
Like, I've seen a lot of heavyweight, even Francis, who's like the greatest, scariest power striker I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. No one's scarier than Francis. Francis does not move like Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is significantly faster than every other heavyweight. That's a real problem. But John has been used to fighting guys like
John's debate within the MMA community, with some arguing that Jon Jones doesn't need the fight, while others believe the 37-year-old must unify the division to truly cement his legacy. Speaking with former UFC champion Ilia Topuria, on his podcast, Joe Rogan shared why he believes the fight is bound to happen. Jon Jones is one of the greatest of all time, Rogan said while discussing his favorite UFC fighters. When Topuria asked the inevitable question, Rogan replied, "Yes, I think he'll fight Tom. I think he'll hang on for one more shot at glory before the
guys who are really fast at light heavyweight. So the speed is not going to be as much of an adjustment. Like, John's used to really fast people. He fought Lyoto Machida when Machida was in his prime. Machida was a lightning bolt, man. And he caught John a bunch of times. But then there's the thing of getting caught by Lyoto Machida is not like getting caught by 255-pound Tom Aspinall.
John's a conqueror. I don't think he can just sit back, Rogan said. The guy developed a spinning back kick at 36. He didn't even have that in his arsenal his whole career. then suddenly knocks out Stipe with it for the heavyweight title at 36 or 37 years old. That's insane. Rogan emphasized Jones's incredible fight IQ, noting how wild it is that much of his early career was spent partying. He diminished his body, didn't train seriously, and was still better than everyone in his division. But now that he actually works hard, he's absolutely terrifying. Rogan also pointed out that when Jones first defended his light heavyweight title against Alexander Gustafsson in 2013, his coaches nearly stopped the fight because Jones hadn't been training properly.
I think pound for pound, we won't ever find out. I think Tom Aspinall is the best.
Who knows?
I think Tom beats him.
Who knows if John beats him? John might beat him up.
Yeah, he could.
John might take him down and fucking ragdoll him on the ground,
John easily could, because we don't know how good John is either.
And we also don't know what happens to Tom Aspinall in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds. We have zero idea.
No one's gotten there.
No one's even gotten close.
There's so many question marks that we don't know how good John is.
Right.
The UFC 165 main event ended with Jon Jones earning a hard-fought unanimous decision victory over the Swedish contender in what was one of the most competitive fights of his career. However, in their rematch 5 years later, Jones looked like a completely different fighter. This time fully prepared after a grueling training camp, he knocked out Gustafsson in the 3rd round. Now, reports suggest that Bones wants a full 6-month training camp to prepare for Tom Aspinall, which comes as no surprise given the danger the Englishman presents. Aspinall has only gone past the 1st round once in his 9 UFC fights, finishing 8 opponents in the opening round.
The best of all time. He is the best GOAT. But you can't tell me he's the baddest heavyweight on the planet after being an older Steve. That's not going to do it for me.
Right.
Aspinall's a lot good, and he's in his prime.
Well, Cyril Gahn almost beat Francis. I know you can say anything about the knee, and Jones just smoked him.
Went right through.
We also didn't know fucking Cyril Gahn was a fucking 3-stripe white.
Tom Aspinall has earned Performance of the Night bonuses in each of his last 3 fights, delivering devastating first-round knockouts against Marcin Tybura, Sergey Pavlovich to win the interim title, and Curtis Blades. Speaking to TalkSport.com, last month, former UFC champion and British MMA legend Michael Bisping urged Jon Jones to either make the fight happen or step away from the sport. If they don't announce it soon, they're really going to talk about stripping this guy, Bisping said bluntly. I mean, in any other sport, if this was boxing, you'd be stripped. If you don't fight the mandatory challenger, you get stripped.
Seems like Jones is up for it. Seems like the UFC want it to happen. I mean, they said to Tom Aspinall, it's a done deal. It's going to happen. And it would just be such a shame if that fight didn't happen. I think it's going to happen International Fight Week, Las Vegas 2025. But what do I know? I'm not basing that on any inside information. Excuse me. I'm not basing that on any inside information. I know what you know. When Joe Rogan said apparently he wants 30 million, good for him. I hope he does, and I hope we get to see the fight. And if it isn't 30 million, maybe it's around that. Maybe it's 20 million, 25. Maybe it's more, like you say. I think the demand for this fight will be there. I think it's incredible that in this day and age we're talking about these kind of fight persons being involved in mixed martial arts. I said this in my video when I started MMA. I'm talking pre-UFC, when I first started like regional level MMA, everybody said if you're getting into this sport for money, you're in the wrong sport.
Bisping argued that Jon Jones should focus on the interim champion already in place rather than chasing other matchups. It's like, bro, it doesn't matter. Francis Ngannou, by the way, was beaten by Derek Lewis. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he might be the PFL champ, yeah. He might have been the former UFC champ. But there's a damn interim champion already, he said. The UFC commentator added that if Jones wasn't planning to defend his belt, he should have just told the UFC up front, which would have made the interim title unnecessary in the first place. And remember to subscribe to my channel for more updates.